Good evening, folks, and welcome to another edition of the Pilot Review Show. I am Captain Blade J52, and I am joined by some of my insane and merry misfit cohorts.
Just some of us.
We have... yeah, some of us. We have immediately below me everyone's favorite teacher of the Kirby variety.
Hello. Hi. Alright. Hi.
And then we also have everyone's favorite RP hologram,
Don't
Artie.
mind me, just dropping in.
And there's Artie out there on the pillar. And then we also have our resident wolf of the Timber Clan this evening.
We're secure here!
On the other pillar.
And just think, people, this is what I put up with whenever
Very
we're
secure,
not on
very
camera.
secure. Just, you know, to make sure.
Heck, even while on camera.
Yeah, we never let you rest.
No, they don't. They're good at breaking things, but they're good little monkeys. But anyways, folks, we do have some stuff to get through this evening, some fairly significant stuff for console and whatnot. We're a little bit late. I actually had a storm roll through last night, knocked out my internet for a good chunk of the day. Everything, but let's go ahead and dive in. First up, we have our Week 4 rewards for the home episode. This is the one that, for the moment, has wrapped up the Gamma arc and everything. You get the little ship device this week, which is similar to previous devices like Nimbus Distress Call, Delta, and that sort of thing. Then we also have, whenever you play through the episode this time, or for your first time this week on your account, you get a featured episode weekly reward box, which will give you your choice of an enhanced universal tech upgrade or a captain specialization point. Take the spec point. But, yeah. Thoughts from you guys?
It's definitely a good console. One that you would want to get. Most definitely. And as Darkblade said, take the spec point.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Yeah, I haven't tested the device out yet, but you can slot this thing on your ability bar without having it attached to the ship, but it's nice that it's also boosted by your skill tree as far as your weapon damage and kinetic damage, so you've already got plenty of points in that. Skill bonuses means these Hur'q are going to warp in and actually do some decent damage for 25 seconds, so... Plus, yeah, it's a foregone conclusion. When you get spec point, it's worth a lot more than that tech upgrade, especially considering what event we're currently going on that can also involve tech upgrades.
Well, the thing to remember with the tech upgrade is that particular upgrade has 0 quality chance improvement. So while it will improve the mark of your weapon, it will not improve the rarity at all.
Apparently J-Dog is saying the device is broken, but they're about to put out a fix for it pretty soon.
Well, we don't want it to be broken.
Yeah.
No, we do not.
Nope.
Alright.
But that's basically what's going on with our rewards from this episode for this week. But moving right along, we have our PC patch notes for the 18th.
Yes, so our PC patch notes. First off, the Phoenix Prize Pack event. Yay! Can I get a cheer? Yay!
Woohoo!
Okay, so from July 18th until July 25th, we have a Phoenix Prize Pack event. They are also adding to the Phoenix Prize Pack Green Shell Bulg Warship, the Lucari Okun Science Vessel. There's just no good way to say that word.
Yeah, it is T6 shell.
See, it makes Artie laugh every time, which is worth it to make Shell
Trying to kill me.
Also, if you weren't around on Back to the Future Day, we have the Future Flyer Power Board. We have the Crystal Radiation Projector, the Furiodon Fangs, and the Interphasic Instability, as well as the Doff Varel, the Kobali Soldier uniform, the Starship Mastery Unlocked Theta Radiation Infused Maneuverer. I'm not sure if that's a typo or not. I think that's a typo. And finally, the Photonic Tribble.
Yes.
These are all the things that have been added to the Phoenix box for the new events. These will be in there for perpetuity. Alright, and again, that runs until the 25th. We'll have a little more on that later. The model for the Excelsior and the Excelsior refit has been revamped. It is now available in the C-Store. And again, we'll have more on that later. For the summer event, resolved an issue that caused Flying High Mission on Risa not to recognize the player had already activated their floater. Baseball hats can now be worn in the off-duty uniform category. Deactivating floaters should be more responsive. Deactivating a floater while mid-air will now cause the player to fall slower than normal. Resolved an issue that was causing some players to not be able to remove a ship from dry dock. The morphogenic Polaron energy weapon can now use both beam and cannon tech upgrades. Renegades Regret resolved an issue that prevented Jem'Hadar from being able to replay. Yay! And resolved an issue that was potentially causing the Karama Trader to spawn in the ground. And added the Jem'Hadar neck tubes to all armor drop-downs in the Tailor. They're pretty short notes, so yeah.
Yep.
Comments, questions?
Chill ball.
Good way of saying that word.
Yeah.
No, there's not.
It's just nice to see that, you know, two good even though the chance to get the tokens is, you know, a very rare chance, but to have two ships that are actually really good added in finally, especially the Lucari one with its healing console, that's probably going to help out a lot of players that were looking for it that missed that anniversary event. That's always a welcome addition there. Plus that radiation gun, the radiation projector, that was always a good one, unless you fight Tholians.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But anyways, that's what we have for our patch notes for this evening. We'll have a link in the description for that once we get the local version of this up and whatnot. But speaking of the Excelsior refit, we have a bit more stuff going on.
Okay, yeah. So they decided to do another revamp of the Excelsior skin and made it look a whole lot more prettier than it was beforehand. Now, like, beforehand it was really good. Now it's so far better that you might as well be watching the show itself. Tobias Reacher, one of the guys that helped out with the DS9 model, the Cryptic Studios were, you know, working back and forth with them, and they were like, "You got anything else we can work with?" And so they came out with the Excelsior, and now it looks much more like what we see in Star Trek VI, Generations, as well as, you know, Search for Spock. You have the slight variance between the different ships now, between the heavy cruiser and the later versions of the ship. So for now, to celebrate these new models, they're putting the Resolute class Tier 6 Advanced Heavy Cruiser, as well as the Tier 3 Advanced Heavy Cruiser, and the Tier 5 Advanced Heavy Cruiser retrofit on a 20% off sale on the C-Smurf from July 18th to July 23rd. And that was a mouthful.
Yes, it was.
But yeah, it's so good now. Just those skins. It's now able to use the newer skin variants, the Type 8 and the Type 8B. Just looks so great. Look at that.
Yes, it does. If you're definitely a fan of the original series and some of the ships from that timeline, you'll definitely enjoy the Excelsior, everything. I like the ship. I know certain people out there, you know who I'm talking to if you're watching this still. It's actually a good ship and whatnot. Everything, it tends to tailor more towards tank or engineering heavy builds. But overall, if you're looking for a good ship that'll get you through pretty much anything in game, this will be it. Get out there and get yourself an Excelsior ship and, yeah, kick lots and lots of butt with it.
If I
But moving
if I can
on,
say,
go ahead.
the Enterprise B variant, one of my top Enterprise variants as far as scene generations, and the fact that they even got the color scheme just right on it. I'm probably gonna get that ship out of dry dock and use it again at some point. Because that, to me, they got that. They nailed it on the head. That's all. Continue.
But anyways, moving along, we have more on our Phoenix prize pack.
Timber, would you like to field that one?
Shit, I don't have the notes.
Okay.
And the chill
ball.
Not that we enjoy
yet.
giving Artie a hard time.
Okay.
I'll let
Well,
you do
then
it,
it would
Kirby.
be your turn, Chris, if it's Timber's not gonna do it.
Alright. So for everybody out there on PC, we have a Phoenix Prize event going on from July the 18th until July the 25th. Every so often they roll this out and everything, so old retired ships and different event items from various events past and years ago that haven't been available for some time, you can pick up in the Phoenix Prize Pack. Some of the examples of the epic prizes include the Resreth, the Sarthelm, the Samsar, the Kretum Science Vessel, the Nandi, the Xiphus Escort, the Chalbolg, the Lucari. And in case anybody's wondering why I pronounce it like that, if you look it up on Urban Dictionary, bolg is supposed to be like you're trying to barf. So, little fun, useless
Yes.
factoid for you. Then you could get, for ultra-rare prizes, the Jem'Hadar attack ship, which is the old T5U Bug. You could get the T5 Chelgret, the T5 Plesh Breck, the Rysian Corvette, and the Rysian Luxury Cruiser, as well as the old Voth Bulwark Dreadnought. Then you could get other nice things, such as the Red Matter Capacitor, the Zephyr Cochrane Shotgun, Crystalline Energy Torpedo, which is the Anti-Proton Energy Torp, and actually the first Energy Torp that we had. You can get the Future Flyer Board that Kirby mentioned, the Agony Field Rifle, it's a couple of things. You can get some Emergency Con Holograms, which is nice. You can get the Crystalline Absorption Matrix, which is actually going to be featured in our budget build this evening, a little bit later. You can get different kinds of tribbles, different kinds of emotes, get various different boosts, and our personal favorites, the Phoenix Tech Upgrades. It's just a
Don't
few
forget
examples.
to mention the VSS Tanius Admiralty ship. Really
yes,
good
that is another
Admiralty
good
ship.
one.
It's a rare token. Really good. That can finish almost. That can actually finish any tour of duty assignment up to up through level 7, just on its own, with 100% completion rate.
But yeah, that's
Yes.
it's a very potent Admiralty card. I dare say one of the most potent in the game and whatnot. So yeah, if you're gonna get some stuff from the rare tier, that is definitely one of the items we would recommend. And as Artie was saying earlier, if you've been looking for the old Kobali soldier uniform, now is your chance to get it. And everything, since it is now in the Phoenix Prize Pack, this is something that has been not present in the game for several years now, and now is your chance to finally pick it up again. But also you can get one Phoenix Prize Pack for free each day by going to Drozana or I think DS9 has a guy, and then
We can talk more about it for bugs or remind you of bugs, but the DS9
We
one
will.
is broken. So Drozana is where it's at.
normally you can go to DS9.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can go to Drozana, you can pick it up. They are going to be fixing the DS9 one. I do know that. They do have a fix coming down the pipes and everything. I don't think they would care for me sharing that. But for now, Drozana's where you go to pick it up and everything, and who knows, you may get lucky and bust an epic token off of it. Now, one thing we should mention as far as tokens go, let's say you do get an epic token out of the box, but you don't really see anything you like on the epic tier, or you've got all of the ships, you can actually downgrade a token and get 2 of a lower grade, so you could convert 1 epic token into 2 ultra rares. And on down the line, you cannot convert up in tier, sadly. But that is something to be aware of. But yeah, quite a bit of stuff in the Phoenix pack and everything. If nothing else, getting them upgrades is very good.
And if you feel lucky, you can get 10 uncommons and get another prize pack.
Which
that you
I
can.
would not recommend. I'd rather take the 10 upgrades.
Yes.
than the chance.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, I'm just saying if you feel unlucky, but luck is usually not with us.
Because, I mean, you could sit there and
Well,
save
are you feeling lucky?
Yeah.
Are you
You
punk?
could sit there and save up your 10 uncommons and trade them in for the 1, and then get nothing but an uncommon out of it and have 1 uncommon now instead of 10.
Yep.
So,
But anyways, like I say, there's a lot of good stuff in this prize pack. I recommend everybody check it out, especially the Samsar for my tank users out there and everything. If you've wanted the Samsar or if you've never had a chance for it, that is the ship to go for if you're wanting to tank. But speaking of other fun stuff, we have some of the stats on our DS9 Lockbox for the console users.
So our console users are getting the Victory is Life expansion on the 24th, and so
3 days to go at the time of recording this, folks.
Yes.
3 days.
And so with it, they'll be getting the DS9 Lockbox and the appropriate ships to go with it, and that includes the Jem'Hadar Light Battle Cruiser and the Maquis Raider. So this blog that we're looking at, that Chris is showing here, does have the stats for both ships. We're going to touch on just one, which is we're actually going to touch on the Jem'Hadar Light Battle Cruiser stats because of something significant here, and we'll get into that. So, this is a Tier 6 ship available for all factions out of the lockbox. You can use it at level 40. Hull strength is 34,000 at level 40, 39,675 at 50, and 46,000 at level 60. It's got a pretty good shield modifier. 4 weapons, or 5. Aft weapons are 3. Has 3 device slots. Now here's where it gets interesting. We've never seen this before. This has a Lieutenant Commander, Tactical / Intel, a Commander Engineering, a Lieutenant Science Seat, and a Commander Universal. Yes, I said Commander Universal. 2 Commander seatings. Okay. So, then we also have console modifications, 4 tactical consoles, 4 engineering, and 3 science, so pretty balanced. Has a turn rate of 13 degrees per second. And it does have 2 of the cruiser commands. It has shield frequency modulation and weapon system efficiency, as well as the console personal wormhole generator, which we'll get more into later. It can equip dual cannons, and it has the cruiser mastery package, the battle cruiser mastery package, with the ship trait Obedience is Victory as well. So let's take a look at this console. For the console, we have the personal wormhole generator. Activating this allows you to travel great distances very quickly while untargetable and invisible for a very brief time. While in the wormhole, you will regain hull hit points over time. Upon exiting, you will gain a potent damage buff. This console also provides a passive bonus to directed energy damage and defense. Okay, and for our Starship trait, Obedience is Victory. let's see. While this starship trait is slotted, you will summon a Jem'Hadar attack ship whenever you activate Engineering Team, Tactical Team, or Science Team. This ally will fight by your side for a brief time. Subsequent activations of team abilities will extend the duration of the ally's help. So, pretty potent little abilities there.
Oh yeah.
Yes. And we're actually not going to go into the stats of the Maquis Raider. We've already gone over these ships when they were released on PC, so you can refer back to those previous episodes. So yeah.
Yeah, the significant thing here, the reason why we particularly wanted to touch on the light battlecruiser, is because we've not actually seen a ship in-game to have a commander seat and a commander universal. So this particular ship is going to give you a lot of flexibility with that commander universal seat. It's you're going to be able to generate, or actually run a fairly, if you want to go more tactical, that's 4 more tac powers you could play with potentially. That's 4 additional engineer, 4 additional science. You could take this ship down quite a few routes and have a lot of nice fun toys to play with. It really depends on what you like doing and what way you see yourself building the ship.
Yeah. But yeah, 2 commander seats and one of them is a universal. That is a very powerful and flexible ship. Yeah.
Oh yes. But like I say, we did cover some of this stuff previously, but because of how significant the battlecruiser is, especially with that seat, we wanted to touch base on it really quickly and everything. But moving on now to the Vanguard Packs. Now we do have some of the stats for this. The big thing I would mention as far as this as well is we've touched base on most of these before as well. We're going to touch base on the Vanguard Dreadnought Cruisers, since that's going to be the ship that you're going to have in your starter pack for $20. It's also going to be the pack that you can also get it in the big pack as well. So since it's something that both the $20 pack and the big pack have in common, that's the ship we wanted to kind of touch base on. But anyways...
Yeah, so the Jem'Hadar Vanguard Dreadnought Cruiser Tier 6. Quite a mouthful for the Jem'Hadar.
Rather not. 10 times fast.
But what we have here, as Blade said, it's both in the starter as well as the full-on Vanguard pack. And we'll just jump straight into what we have here. So it's rank required is level 50, of course. Hull strength is 1.375, so that's 41,250 at level 40, and ending up at 55,000 at level 60, so that's a pretty good boost there. You're going to get a lot of health there. Shield modifier of 1.15, and then it's got a 4/4 weapon loadout, and then you got 4 device slots, so that's pretty good for the standard cruiser. The bridge officer stages we have here is the Lieutenant Commander Tactical, a Lieutenant Commander Engineering / Command, so that's a good one there. A Commander Engineering, and then you got a Lieutenant Science and a Ensign Universal. So that's a pretty good setup there if you're for all the definite boosts from the previous Jem'Hadar Dreadnought. The console modifications you got is 3 Tactical, 5 Engineering, 3 Sciences, so definitely going in the tanking route there if you could. Base turn rate of 7, the impulse modifier of 0.15, so you're going nowhere fast. The inertia of 35, and the cool thing of equipping dual cannons like most Dreadnoughts could. This also allows you to have the +10 to weapon power and +10 to shield power. You also get the console universal Dominion targeting synchronizer, a hangar bay full of Jem'Hadar fighters, which I will get to that in a bit if you want to hear a little bit about that. Then you get the Vanguard wingman ship mechanic, which if you're in any Vanguard ship, you get 2 extra Jem'Hadar ships to fly around with you and be a little bit of extra damage while on the playing field. and then it gets a few cruiser commands. You get command weapon system efficiency, as well as command attract fire. The ship mastery package is the Dreadnought Cruiser, so you get the hull regen, the energy/radiation damage resistance, plus crit chance, and the plus max hull, and then you get the Starship trait Team Synergy. And then added for the Vanguard and a lot of these newer ships, you also get another tier with it that it allows it for an account unlock. Once you finish it on the Jem'Hadar Dominion character, you now get it unlocked for the rest of your characters. So before I actually get to the consoles and the Starship traits, I'm actually going to go over the pets a little bit. That's a little bit above the Jem'Hadar Vanguard gunboats. So these are more or less the same way as your usual Jem'Hadar fighters, but instead of cannons, they're more of the beam banks, beam arrays. And it's actually pretty cool because then you get your two different variants. You get your cannon versions if you're doing all full-on cannon build, and then you get your beams for the full-on beam build, which, yeah. And it also comes with attack pattern Lambda 1 for you pilot guys out there. Evasive Burst 1, a brief increase of flight speed, turn rate, and defense for your little gunboat. And then it has a chance of initiating ramming speed when below 50% health. So let's count this so far. So you're going to have your Dreadnought, 2 Jem'Hadar warships, plus 2 more gunboats. So that's 5 ships that's under your command right now. You seem pretty badass right now. So, now moving down to the console. You get the console Universal Dominion Targeting Synchronizer, which for the passive boost, you get passive boost to shield capacity and critical hit chance with projectile weapons. And let me just read the top here. Activating this ability marks an enemy and will moderately reduce their defense and damage resistance rating. Additionally, allies that fire upon this enemy will gain a weapon cycle haste and weapon power cost reduction buff for a very brief time. This buff reapplies each time allies attack the marked target. So that's a pretty good thing to use when you're in large groups and fighting things such like the Hur'q. They're pretty difficult to go down by themselves. And then you get the Starship trait Team Synergy. While this Starship trait is slotted, activation of Engineering Team, Science Team, and Tactical Team will apply a lesser version of these abilities on nearby allies. And for you Admiralty guys out there, you get, for this ship, it comes with the Engineering 60, Science 23, Tactical 34, and then the special of 2.5 times critical rating from any engineering run. So there you go. That is your Jem'Hadar Vanguard Dreadnought Cruiser Tier 6 with your 4 extra ships that runs with it.
Indeed. Like I say, a lot of these ships and everything we did cover previously and whatnot, so if you're kind of curious about some of those stats, we'll have a link to this for you guys so you can check those out and everything. You could refer back to previous episodes if you want to hear us talking about it. Now this particular ship, I do have to say, is a nasty little piece of work.
Yeah.
At the moment, this is the ship that allowed me to break my old record as far as damage as a tank goes, which, for me, I'm not normally somebody that builds for damage, and with that and some other stuff that have come out, it allowed me to break about 78k, which is it was not normal for me. But yeah, you're gonna love this ship, folks. Trust me on that. But yeah, thoughts from the rest of you guys.
I feel like this one's also on par with the Vanguard carrier that you can run with it. Not only due to the amount of sheer firepower that comes with it, but the actual extra, the second hangar slot, as well as its console that allows basically another heavy cruiser to spawn out from your carrier. So that's your carrier, your 2 Vanguard support ships, now 4 gunboats, and now another heavy escort, basically running with your fleet. The only thing that the Dreadnought has going for it is its extra armor as well as its extra weapons power. So it's good balance there. But thinking about it on the grand scale, having a full team of just any of this, grand on its own.
Yeah, definitely some fun stuff to look into and to roll with. But, like I said, we will have this in the notes for you guys. I highly encourage console players to at least take a look at the stats, be kind of planning ahead with your builds, because you're getting a fairly significant amount of ships and everything with this. You're going to have some fun stuff coming down the pipeline, so go ahead and be planning now. Hint, hint, pick Polaron. I mean, what? But, speaking of fun stuff, we also have our Gamma Vanguard recruits coming down the pipeline. So, like last time with one of these big events and everything, when we got our temporal characters and had temporal recruits, this time we have the Gamma recruits from July the 24th until August the 28th, so a little over a month you guys will be able to create a Gamma recruit captain. It says they will be bred with the knowledge and capability needed to defeat this threat, save the Dominion, and ensure its future dominance over the Gamma Quadrant. Now, you do get some pretty significant rewards with this and everything. I know a lot of people have been talking about it. One of the big things you're going to get whenever you reach level 10 in any 3 Admiralty campaigns, or Admiralty, just to annoy Kirby, is you get a free Admiralty assignment slot. You also get a Admiralty ship for Odo's flagship, which is going to be very cool. Yeah, I see a certain dum-dum in the chat out there trying to give me grief just because he can. But, like I say, you're going to get some pretty significant rewards with this and everything. It's not as... may not be as potent as giving us a Mark 13 ultra rare upgrade like the temporal stuff, but you still get a lot out of this and everything. You can improve or get improved versions of the secondary specialization traits like arrest, unconventional tactics, and demolition teams. It's just a few good odds and ends, as well as a butt ton of marks, EC, DIL, and so on. But yeah, thoughts from you guys?
As a reminder, as most people tend to forget, when this shows up and it has its end date, that doesn't mean that the special Gamma recruit just vanish. You keep the recruit as long as you make it within that time frame. So the special event stuff and the special rewards persist after the date given. So just as a little reminder. As long as you have the recruit, you're good.
Yes, as long as you've finished Turn the Tide.
Yeah.
And gotten your little doohickey in your inventory, then you're good to go.
I'd say the best reward out of this is going to be the one that takes people, depending on how well you can rotate stuff, it might take you the longest to get, and that's your duty officer assignments. Now, it's already been shown with people, some people have already gotten it. Once you max out 6 of your duty officer assignment chains to level 4, we talk about maxing out diplomacy so you can get your Nausicaan bridge officer for your Federation tunes. Well, if you max out 6 of them, you get a new duty officer. It's golden in quality, and it's a space warfare specialist that gives you a 20% damage boost to all enemies. And the reason that is significant is right now the current is only a very rare that gives you plus 10% to a specific enemy. A lot of us use Delrine or Bada to give us that 10% damage against Borg. When you get this reward, that is going to be replaced by this duty officer, because it's 20% to all. So you won't have to switch it out if you're facing a different enemy. It's just any enemy you face, there it is. And since it's 20% versus 10, even if it ends up being a low damage category, which I think it's like category 1 or 1.5, even still, it's still nice to have that there versus any enemy you face in space. So it's going to take you a while to get it, but that's going to be the big hit item out of your Gamma Task Force, besides getting just a buttload of EC and dilithium and marks and everything else.
Right.
Also, you're getting improved variations of, I believe, demolition teams, arrest, and I can't remember what the third, unconventional tactics. So you're finally getting improved variations of 3 Starship traits from specialization trees that do not have the further improvement. So that you're looking at good upgrades there as well. So there's a few good items, it's just it takes a while to get them. But they are worth grinding for, just like with Delta or with Temporal. Plus you never know, they might change how it works in the future and it be even better than it was before. So it might be a headache to grind all this stuff out on another tune again, but the potential rewards from it, on top of being able to claim some of these rewards on all your tunes after you unlock them on your Jem'Hadar, it kind of outweighs it in the long run, because it's just more stuff, not just for this tune, but also your main tune that you already run anyway.
Yeah, definitely some fun stuff coming down the pipeline and in the future for you guys, but definitely make at least one Gamma recruit and everything. It is going to be very well worth it, like Timber's saying, for a lot of those reasons and whatnot. I know some people are kind of hoping that it would be as potent as a Mark 13 ultra rare, but even then, even though it's not necessarily that, what they give you is very significant and is going to more than make up for that. It's very well worth it to make a Gamma recruit. But anyways, speaking of, we have the Gamma Task Force reputation.
Yes, so with most new releases like this, expansions like this, we have a new reputation. This brings us up to, 12 reputations now? Quite a lot.
That's a good question.
It's a
We'll
lot,
have to look after
sure.
this.
But, so this is the Gamma reputation. Some very interesting things in here. And, of course, as always, you get ability and gear to go with it. And it would help if I could open up the right blog. Okay, there we go.
Also, it is 12.
Yes, okay.
Not counting the events thing.
Not counting events, of course. So, right now,
Okay.
the Gamma marks can be earned by participating in Swarm, as well as the Gamma Quadrant Sector Battle Zone. And you get the Gamma marks, and then Geranium Carapace Fragments is the Elite mark. You get those from advanced and elite versions of the Swarm. And then, of course, there are rewards. We have the Gamma Team Synergy Space Set. Very interesting. We've already kind of gone into details with this when we introduced this with the PC side, so I'm not going to go too into it, but definitely something you're going to want to take a look at. So, yeah. And then, of course, there's the weapon set, which has the, what does it have? Cardassian projectile weapon, which is a wide-arc torpedo launcher, the rapid deploying mine launcher, and the inhibiting Polaron weapon Mark 12. So, and the console universal ordnance accelerator. So those three pieces of that has some very interesting bonuses. And then, of course, there's also the reputation traits that come out of this. That, what is it? The Tier 2 space trait? Is it the Tier 2 one that I'm looking at?
If you're thinking of what I think you are, then it's a
tier 4. Yes, you're right. Tier 4. So, magnified armaments. So, very good trait to have. So, definitely some interesting things coming out of this reputation. Definitely worth a closer look. Comments?
Personally, I think the only great thing to top all the cool stuff that you get out of this is the Tier 5 active reputation ability. One little ship. Basically, you summon a miniaturized Danube runabout and it shoots at everyone that's nearby. It's great.
Yep.
And, I know, probably I'm going to mention this as well. I know me and Timber, we actually covered some of this on our own channels when we did some intel reports, showing some of this stuff off for you guys and whatnot. And these bonuses that you're going to get are actually fairly significant. The one for space is actually a tier 5, or it's for a words. It is a Cat 2 damage bonus, and it gives a 5% bonus that you can have for free just as a static weapon damage bonus by having it slotted on the ship. And then the tier 5 power is actually nice and everything. And the cool thing about it and everything is it actually gave a non-combat pet version of the little ship as well. So if you just wanted your little runabout to follow you around, you can have it out. It actually makes the warp in sound, the sound of the impulse engines and everything. But as far as the space set goes, I know we had touched base on it a little bit. The warp core itself is going to be more if you're traveling through space and everything, that's definitely going to be the warp core to use. I know whenever we were trying to speed test the thing, like, what did you end up getting to, Timber? It was like, with the speed bonuses and slipstream, it was some ridiculously high number.
I mean, what was it? I mean, hell, even without half of everything, I think it was like...
It's in the 50s, I know that.
57. I mean, I know that we can't always stack all those transwarp bonuses, because sometimes they don't stack. You know, there's some of them that won't stack, but with this warp core, it was absolutely ridiculous. If you're about sector space travel, this warp core is for you.
Most definitely. I know I was able to get to, like, I think I got to, like, I want to think it ended up being like transwarp 35 or something like that, once everything was said and done. Not nearly as high as Timber, but it was pretty high up there. And then the significance about the torpedo launcher, I know we're taking a couple minutes to talk about this, but there are significant things with it, is this is actually the first reputation that is going to give you access to a wide arc torpedo launcher. This is one of the budget ends that you can get this. Up until this point, the only way to get a wide arc torpedo launcher was to purchase one of the old Sovereign class ships, like the T5 or the T6 off of the C-Store. So this now gives you a free variation, or that too. So this now gives a free variation that you could pick up and everything. Might not be anybody's particular first choice and everything, since it's a chronoton torpedo, but if you're looking for a wide arc, then this is something you're going to want to consider. And then finally, one thing I would mention for the shield itself, it comes with a very nice resistance buff that you could pick up. And from our initial testing on Tribble, and then I'll shut up and we can move on. At least for a minute anyway, I'll shut up. But this particular shield on its own, if you could keep the buff up from the passive regen and the damage resistance, you can actually replace your shield hardness skills in the skill tree if you're a tank. That's assuming you're going to run just this shield. You can justify giving up the shield hardness in the skill tree. It is that significant of a buff. But yeah. Any, I guess, final comments from you guys, or does that about cover it?
Yeah, I think that covers it.
Pretty much. I mean, this gear, it's going to come down to try it out once and then see if it works for you. And if you have access to the Tribble server now, try it out on Tribble and just see if it works out for you. Because it's surprising, this set, considering Darkblade is, you know, talking of as much as it is. There have been times I've seen him where he's running this set instead of the Kobali. And he's always sworn he'd never go away from the Kobali set. So you never know, just give it a shot, and it might not be worth anything to you, considering it might not upgrade you at all, might downgrade you. Give it a shot, you never know.
Yep. But, anyways, that's what we have for our articles this evening and whatnot. There's a lot of stuff that's been going on. We tried to pick out the most important stuff that we could touch base on to get you guys the information, everything. But for this week, everything for our budget build, we actually have a request that came in on my channel and everything, and I actually thought that I had already gave this back to the guy, but apparently I hadn't done it yet. So for the guy that requested this on my channel, I apologize for it being as late as it is getting this back to you. I did?
No, you must play the fail sound.
I will have to do that later. Unfortunately, I can't play that specific one because copyrights. Yeah. Don't we all just love them dang copyright laws? But anyways, the user had requested on my channel that I give him a temporal dreadnought. I'm assuming he meant the Kronos and everything. And what he had requested was actually a mid-range variation of a ship. He wanted it to be more of a not hardly tank, not fully DPS, so more towards the middle of the spectrum, that it can do either one fairly well, but doesn't particularly fall on either side, if that makes sense. And for our mid-range budgets, we typically assume a 30 million EC spending limit and enough dilithium to take one single item up to now Mark 15 epic quality. Now for this particular ship, he didn't exactly say what his career was and everything, and whether he was a Federation character or not, so in situations like that, we assume it's whatever the builder defaults to and everything. In this case, it is a Federation engineer, we're assuming. If he turns out to be a tactical or something, there's little adjustments we can make. But for the Starship itself, it's actually a very nice ship. This is the 31st Century Temporal Dreadnought. Now you have a 4-4 weapons layout and everything. So for our weapons, we actually have up front a basic anti-proton beam array that we picked up from the Fluid Dynamics mission. Everything, this is in the Borg arc. Then, for one of our reputation weapons, we have our Temporal Defense Chronoton Beam. This is a reputation-based beam array that you can pick up for not too much on the dilithium and everything. Gives us some nice bonuses. Then we also have our Radiant Anti-Proton Beam Array, our advanced version, which is going to give us a nice bit of healing and whatnot. Then for our damage benefits, this is one of the money items that we picked up, is actually a Herald Anti-Proton Beam for the nice damage bonuses that it will give. Then for our aft weapons, we have 3 more of the basic anti-proton beams, and we also have a Delphic anti-proton beam that we were able to pick up on the cheap for some of its damage bonuses that it gives as well. Then for our shields, our engines, our deflector, and our warp core, we went with the Soul Defense set to give a bit of survival to the ship. Everything, this comes from the Midnight Mission, and what is so significant about this set is actually the bonuses that it gives. Just by having 2 of the items on the ship, you get a free neutronium's worth of damage resistance without having to slot an actual neutronium. And then if you have the 3 set bonus, you also get a massive healing ability, which is comparable to, in some cases, the Kobali set in terms of what it can give in one nice burst. In most ships, this will take you from nearly dead almost all the way, if not outright, back to full health. everything. It's that potent of a heal. Then for our warp core, the Soul Defense set actually does not have a warp core. I was almost brain farted there. And since it doesn't have a warp core, we have to source one out, and the one that we went for in this case is the Temporal Phase Overcharged core. Now this is actually one that we feature quite a bit here on the show, and that's mainly because it's very hard to beat this warp core on the free end, whatnot. And what is so significant about this core is, for those of you that have been here for the Delta recruitment events, you're familiar with the Temporal Negotiator device. It will cut your bridge officer cooldowns in half for the duration the device is active. This basically gives you the same thing, except in the form of a warp core capacitor. And that is what is so significant about this. Now for our devices and everything, we usually like to assume personal preference in this instance and whatnot, because for the most part it is. Now we do usually recommend the Subspace Field Modulator, because it's a device you're probably going to encounter through the story mode anyway. You'll have a chance to pick it up by leveling. And this device gives a free neutronium worth of resistance, actually slightly more than a neutronium, I believe, whenever you use the device. And the only downside to it is it does debuff you for a minus 400 protonic damage resist rating. Now there's not that many mobs or abilities that use protonic damage in the game, but it is something to be aware of. Now some other devices you might like, maybe a weapon battery, an energy amplifier battery, maybe a particle flood, Geminite hardpoints, armor catalyst. There's quite a few options that you have on the table for survival and damage benefits as well. Now for this particular ship, he has a 4 engineering, 3 science, 4 tactical console layout. Now for our engineering consoles, we actually kept the console that comes with the ship, which is the chronotachyon capacitor. It gives some very nice defensive bonuses and offensive bonuses just by having the console. It is a very potent thing to have on the ship. Then, for our first engineering console, we have the Trellium deplating from the Ragnarok mission. This will give a decent chunk of damage resist, as well as a nice boost to shield capacity. Now this is basically a field generator and a neutronium armor slammed into one thing, so you get a little bit of both worlds there, with only one console slot being taken up. Now for the item that we chose to take to Epic this evening, we chose the assimilated module, because it's something that's very nice at the high end or the budget end as well. This is going to give a nice bit of a boost to critical chance, critical severity, and a bit of control expertise as well. Since he's also a anti-proton user, we gave him the polymorphic probe array, which is going to be the equivalent of an additional free tactical console of sorts, because of the AP damage that it gives. And this can be picked up on the exchange for fairly cheap or dropped from the Infinity Lockbox. For science consoles, we have the Temporal Disentanglement Suite. This is going to give a nice boost to your critical chance and severity depending on your aux power. This is also going to give about 20% additional shield capacity, and it's also going to give a little bit of shield resistance. So it touches all 3 areas basically. It touches damage and defensive and survival side. So a very great console to have for damage dealers and tanks alike. Now since at the time of recording this we have a Phoenix event going on, we have a chance for him to pick up the Crystalline Absorption Matrix, which is the old crystalline console. It gives a bit of damage resistance, as well as a nice boost to AP damage, so you're picking up additional anti-proton by having this on the ship, and I personally think the defensive ability is rather nice myself. Then, finally, to round out our science things, we have our Chronoton Drive Actuator, which is going to give a little bit of a 2-set bonus, along with the Chronoton Beam, which is going to pick up some extra damage there. and whatnot. And the console itself is fairly decent, gives a little bit of power and whatnot, as some of the main bonuses. Finally, for our tactical consoles, we have 3 of the directed energy distribution manifolds. These are the plus beam variations of tactical consoles that you can get for free. You can get these from the Terminal Expanse and the Yesterday's War Arc. Now, it should be noted that if you're going to do Terminal Expanse, you will need to have completed every other mission in the Arc before you are able to see this. But that is something to be aware of. Now, as far as the hangar bays go, I left that blank because I don't like assuming what pets people like to use or what they may have access to. But that's what we have for our equipment and everything here. Now for our skills, we pretty much went with the build that we usually recommend. It's a general jack-of-all-trades build. For your lieutenant tier, you have 2 points into hull capacity and shield capacity. You have a point into shield and hull restoration each. That's going to give a bit of healing. 3 points into energy weapons, which is going to be free energy weapon damage. Then, next we have 2 points into improved DPS flow for improved power distribution and whatnot. A point in impulse expertise to let the ship get around a little easier and turn better. We also have 2 points into control expertise and drain expertise both. This is going to allow some flexibility in science powers and buff some of that stuff. We also have 2 points into targeting expertise and defensive maneuvering. This is going to buff our accuracy rating and defense rating. That's going to help with things like the accuracy penalty on fall, and also help our ship to not get hit nearly as often. Finally, we have all 3 points in the hull plating. This is going to give free defensive value to the ship just by having these, and that means you don't have to slot an armor console in this case. Then we have 2 points in shield hardness. This is going to be free damage reduction to the shields, which is going to be very nice. Then we also have all 3 points in amplification and specialization for free critical chance and severity. Next, we have a point in defensive and offensive subsystem tuning. That's going to be free power across the board just by having these. Then we have 2 points into EPG for free exotic particle generator. That's going to buff our science powers to some extent and our exotic damage. Finally, we have 3 points in long-range target sensors. This is going to reduce the weapon drop-off penalty and everything, so now we don't have as much penalty for being a little further away from the target. Then finally, you have your choice of either hull pin or shield pin in your skill tree. You can actually make arguments for and against either one. As long as you have at least one of them, you're doing fairly good, I like to believe. Finally, on the Admiral tier, we have a point in Warp Core Potential. It's going to be free power across the board. Then we have 2 points into Engineering Readiness and 2 points into Tactical Readiness. That's going to give us some cooldown reduction on our tactical powers and our engineering-based powers. And for our resident troll in chat, that's what the user requested was AP. So, just to give him a little bit of a hard time. Don't worry, folks. I'll get him after the show. But
don't worry, we'll break his immersion.
Oh, we will. But the other good reason why we're using engineering readiness in this case instead of the science is because that's actually going to play very nicely with the console that he has that comes with the ship, which is also going to give him a plus 50 bonus to his engineering readiness. So this is going to push his engineering cooldowns even lower, enabling a bit more damage in this case. And also survival by extension as well, so it gives him a little bit of the best of both worlds. Then, for his specializations, to kind of balance it out, we went with a Intelligence Primary, Miracle Worker Secondary. That's going to give some nice damage buffs and defensive type buffs as well, which is going to be keeping him more towards the middle of the spectrum. Then, moving on to our traits, and then we'll look at our Bridge Officer abilities. And this is where we spent more of the EC. and everything. First off, we have our context is for kings, which is going to give a damage bonus or a defensive bonus, depending on whether or not we've been shot in the last couple of seconds. And very potent, actually. Then we have our Nanite Repair Matrix, which is going to be a nice heal whenever he drops below 50% hull. We also have our Redirected Armor Plating. If you're getting shot from the sides or behind, you get a free damage resistance buff. Well, that... and it's, yeah, fairly significant. Then, for our R&D trait, we went with the Beam Barrage, since he's using all beam weapons. We typically like to assume that a person has leveled at least one of the R&D crafting schools with their character, and as such, we've chosen beams for this. Then we also have our Beam Training, in this case, which is going to be free beam damage just by having this slotted. You actually get this trait for free. Now, we also have our career-specific trait of Grace Under Fire. This is the engineering-specific trait. We're using this trait because it defaults to engineers and the skill builder in this instance. If you're not an engineering captain, anybody out there, or the guy that made this for, if you're not an engineering captain but you would still like to use the build, simply swap in your own career-specific trait and you'll be doing pretty good. Then another of our free traits we have is the Point Blank Shot from the House Peg mission. This is going to give a energy weapon damage increase the closer you are to a target, up to a certain maximum. Then we also have the Duelist Fervor, if I could words.
Words are hard.
Nearby enemies dying increases, yes they are, increases your damage and accuracy for a short duration. And then finally, to round it out, we have the Fleet Coordinator, which is free damage based on how many people you have in your party. A minimum of 2% if it's just you, all the way up to 10% if you're in a full team. Then finally, for our Starship traits, we have the improved predictive algorithms from our intel. This is going to give us a bit of an accuracy bonus and whatnot, which is going to help offset the fall penalty a bit. That's one of the main things it does. Then our Going the Extra Mile is going to improve some healing a bit and give maximum hull capacity. That's going to come from our Miracle Worker, which is nice. Then we also have the Best Defense from House Peg. The attack patterns that we have on the ship will grant a hull healing buff along with the normal effects. And then because we believe he's a Federation character, and also because that's what it defaults to, we gave him the Honored Dead trait. This is worth about 10% across the board resistance just by having this trait and stacking it up. So a very potent power. Then for space reputations, we have the Advanced Targeting Systems. This increases severity by a fairly hefty chunk, approximately 16%. We have Precision for free critical hit chance in space, which is 4%. Then we have the Automated Protomatter Conduits. Being critically hit will grant you a large increase to your hull and shield regeneration rate for a short time. So this is going to lend towards the survivability side. And then finally we have the Magnified Firepower from the Gamma Reputation. Slotting the trait will grant a 5% Category 2 weapon damage bonus, so it is very significant. And whatnot. Now we tried to keep it somewhat balanced in this case. Everything, because he does want to stay towards the middle of the spectrum. Then for active reputation powers, we have the Biomolecular Shield Generator. This is the little green ball you see people throw up in maps like ISA and other such maps. It increases shield regen for a time, as well as giving a bit of shield repair whenever you step inside of it. We have our Quantum Singularity Manipulation. It increases all science stats by plus 100 for a short time, as well as granting a temporary cloak effect. Then we have our Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. This is going to be a nice little kick in the pants from our temporal reputation. Whenever you activate it, it does physical damage to foes within the area, slowing them down and everything, and can actually be buffed to quite a really big extent. Then finally we have our Deploy Sensor Interference platform. This little platform, whenever you use it, will taunt enemies to attack itself until it is either destroyed or its duration runs out, whichever of those two things happen first, and is a nice little get the heck out of Dodge type of thing. But one thing we would recommend to get a little bit more bang for your buck out of your anti-time entanglement, fire off any exotic buffs you may have first, follow with quantum singularity manipulation, then throw your anti-time on a large group of enemies, and you will get a lot more bang for your buck that way. Then comes our bridge officers and everything. Whew, needed a sip of Gatorade.
You've done a lot of talking.
Then for this particular... Yes, I have. Then for this particular ship, we've got a Lieutenant Commander Tactical Seat, a Lieutenant Universal / Temp Ops, Ensign Engineering, Commander Engineering / Temp Ops, and a Lieutenant Commander Science. Now for the Lieutenant Commander seat, we gave him a Tactical Team 1, a Beta 1, and a FAW 3. This is going to debuff the enemies as well as allow him to smack anything in range with a beam. For his Ensign Engineering, we have an Engineering Team 1 that's going to repair the ship a little bit, repair the hull, as well as purge certain things like a viral matrix that the Iconians love to throw out. Then, for our Commander Engineering / Temp Ops, we have an Emergency to Engines 1. This is going to increase power to the engines, let the ship move a little quicker, get the heck out of Dodge potentially, maybe. We have a Reverse Shield Polarity 1 that's going to allow him to recharge his shields in a pinch off of incoming damage. Then we have Emergency Power to Weapons 3, a nice damage buff as well as weapon power bonus while it's active. And then we also have our Recursive Shearing 3, which is a nice damage dealing power and everything, and also playing towards some of the strengths of the ship. Then for our Lieutenant Commander Science Station, we have a Science Team 1. This is going to heal our shields a bit, as well as purging certain annoying debuffs like a subnucleonic based effect. We also have one of our money powers, which is our Subspace Vortex 2, a nice little AoE damage ability. Then we also have our Gravity Well 1, which is going to help group things up, and it plays towards the science portions of the ship. And then for the Lieutenant Universal / Temp Ops, we made that a second science seat. We went with a Hazard Emitters 1 to purge certain things like Borg Plasma Fire and give it heal over time, and to kind of keep it balanced towards the center of the spectrum, we also gave a Transfer Shield Strength 2, which could potentially be swapped out for a DRB, potentially, if more damage is desired. But that's what we have for that in the meantime. As far as total build time, and then we'll open this up to comments from the crew, you're looking at about 29,600,000 EC, so almost maxing out the budget, but you're getting quite a bit of stuff for that amount of EC. You're looking at about 64,500 total DIL, which is going to come out to roughly 9 days build time, assuming only one character is refining dilithium per day. So it is a bit lengthier in terms of our builds, but mid-ranges tend to take just a hair longer. But, yeah, thoughts from our panel on this one?
Looks really good. I mean, he's got some really, when it comes down to it, high-end things on there. Honor Dead, what was it, Context is for Kings, and Duelist Fervor. I mean, just those three are some really good traits that he was able to squeeze in there at that budget.
Yeah. Like I say, he wanted to keep it more towards the middle of the spectrum, which is what we wanted to do, wanted to give him, and everything. And I hope he enjoys the build. It should give him pretty decent damage, pretty decent survival, and everything. And he should be able to pretty much hand anything that gets in his face its butt. So yeah, that's some very fun stuff there. But, yeah. Anyways, that's what we have for our budget build this evening. Hopefully, you guys like that. If you guys want to see, if you guys have any requests for other budget builds, feel free to let us know. As you can see, this came by request, everything. But anyways, moving on to our next segment of the evening, we have the Teacher's Corner
You forgot
with
about
Kirby.
the Bugs
What have you got
Corner.
for us this week?
Chris, I broke it.
Oh, I didn't person. What have you got? Okay. I didn't have anything, so...
I actually do have one. So, I was on Risa. Big surprise, I know, right? I
Right.
was on Risa, and I was getting ready to do a race. I had used my floater and come up to the starting point of the power board race, and had, switched over to my board. Didn't think anything of it. Well, come to the first jump, and you know how sometimes when you deactivate your floater and it doesn't technically deactivate, and it, like, if you jump, it moves you just like straight up on the ground,
Yeah.
and you walk really fast?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, that's what my board started doing
Oh.
in the middle of the power board race.
Interesting.
I ended up so high up that I could, that my board disappeared. The only way I could break it was to activate my floater, disqualify myself, and and then let it go again so that I fell. But yeah, so the weird deactivation thing is still a thing. And some instances of Risa still don't play the sounds for the power board and biathlon races.
That bit broke.
Yep.
I see.
Yeah, the only thing I have, I'm not sure it really is a bug. It's just something I've noticed and I've laughed about it. Doing the daily Risa, fly around the sky, do the low courses, whatever. Apparently, with the new floaters, it's possible to go fast enough if you're doing the turns and all that correctly,
Uh-huh.
and get past the checkpoints for it, and still keep going before the next checkpoint spawns up, and you could totally bypass on accident and have to go all the way back and redo the course.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. It's terrible, but funny.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Then again, it may just be on my end. My computer is slow.
Also, I don't know if,
Yeah.
and I do want to put this out there, I know that it's happened to everybody. You run a race, right? And you get to the end, and you've gone through every checkpoint, you've done everything you can think of, but you get to the end, and it will not let you claim a flag. Does this happen to anybody else, right?
Yes.
So I figured out what the problem is. The problem is that one of the gates you're going through, for whatever reason, is not registering.
Oh?
Every single time, once I figured that out once, every single time that's happened to me, it's because I've been able to go back and find that it was a gate that somehow I missed. Now, whether missing it is the bug, you know what I mean?
Right.
Could be considered a bug. I would say it could be, because there have been times, like, I've started a biathlon, and I'll go through and first gate will not register, even though I clearly go under it. You know what I mean? So I've had that happen a few times, and, but, so you could say that's a bug, but definitely if you get to the end of a race and you find it won't let you claim a flag, go back and find what gate you missed.
And here I figured as soon as I started the race, I just got instant disqualified because I knew how good I was.
No. It did take me a few years to figure that out, though, so don't feel bad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's very, very interesting. Yeah, we'll definitely have to look into that and be sure they know about those. Everything, but anyways, Now, officially, we are at the Teacher's Corner.
Yes, we are.
What have you got for us?
Nothing good. No, I'm kidding. No, this week was pretty straightforward. It's a playthrough of the episode Doomed to Repeat, which was the next in the series for the Gamma episodes that were released with Victory is Life. So, yeah, so I did play through and I released that this week. And there you go.
I
Comment?
see.
Pretty nice
Obedience
stuff.
brings victory.
And victory is life.
Yes, it is.
That's just going to be the
Nice.
meme
But
forever
anyway.
now, isn't it? We're just going to keep on saying victory is life, and everyone's going to nod their heads, going yes.
Well, you know, I kind of
Pretty much.
Subs are $5 at Subway.
I kind of take Kara's view of it.
Oh,
You know,
jeez.
you hear the Jem'Hadar going, victory is life, she responds, so is Raktajino, but you don't hear me talking about it every 5 minutes. So, Raktajino is life. There you go.
Now, if you talk to Worf, prune juice is life.
Oh, God.
Well, that's more.
And this is what I put up with.
Volunteered.
Yep. Yep.
Folks. Starting to question
Too late
that. But, anyways, we'll have a link to Teacher's video. Feel free to check that out if you're kind of interested in the episode and don't mind some spoilers. But, anyways, moving on to our final segment of the evening, we have the RP Corner with Artie. What have you got for us
Okay,
this week,
so
dude?
something interesting, or at least with the RP community. So, I'm sure quite a few of our viewers have played the most recent mission, and they know how everything turns out. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil things. If you haven't played the episode and don't want to be spoiled, go ahead and put your fingers in your ears and scream really loud. So,
Spoilers!
in the mission, we all know that everything basically gets resolved. The Hur'q are basically now becoming more docile due to Ketracel White being reintroduced into their diet, basically. And all we know is that there's some rogue Hur'q that are still running around blowing stuff up. Everything's well said and done. That's the usual STO that we got here. So we got 6 episodes into a new arc, suspectedly into a new war that we're going to have in the Gamma Quadrant, and it's finished within 6 episodes. A lot of RP communities, well, a lot that I've talked to about, I should say, are what you could say functionally up in arms. They're kind of distressed that they got all this RP built up to go, oh, and here we are going all gun-ho and fighting the Hur'q. Are we going to go fight the Hur'q? Are we... And it's all done by the time that you get out there. Huh. Now what? So, there's a few fleets that I've met that they have their own storylines that are now having to be reworked now due to this war we were going to have with the Hur'q finished so soon, so early. And it's becoming somewhat of a hassle from what I've been told. There's GMs having to basically throw out whole storylines and try to make new content before we see a new episode from STO coming up or anything. We don't even know what's going to happen after this because with the Hur'q now complete, what's there to basically fill in next? So a lot of our fleets are up in arms about it, more or less. That's thoughts.
Yeah, that's...
I can see the frustration. You know, there was this whole build-up and yada yada yada, and then, oh, it's done.
Yeah.
Well,
The one thing that some RP fleets are actually working with right now is that in-between bit from that battle over Bajor and the first sighting of the Hur'q and whatnot, and the coming to try to blow up Bajor and all that going on, and apparently a couple months until episode 1 of the new Gamma Quadrant arc. Apparently, there's a couple months in between there of just free space of Hur'q just flying around going willy-nilly. So a lot of RP fleets are just going, since we already know how it ends, let's fill that empty gap. So there's
There you go.
There's that. It's working out for them so far from what I've been told, but there's still a lot of details that are missing to help out at this point. Like, what were the Jem'Hadar doing during all that time? Because apparently all we know is that they've just been hanging out over DS9 this entire time. That's all we know. And that's all they've been doing for months until the campaign actually starts. So, yeah, it's just been hectic and fun at the same time.
Yep. I still think there's going to be something else coming down the pipes due to how quickly that ended.
Oh, yeah.
That's just me, anyway.
Yeah, I think they were just eager to, well, not just, but I think one of the things they were eager to do was resolve the whole white addiction. You know what I mean?
And that opens up, if you paid attention to some of the stuff in the episodes, that opens up the possibility of other things. Like, say, I don't want to get too much into it because I want people to be able to play it and find it out. But there's a few comments that make me think something potentially nastier is coming down the pipes.
Totally a Dominion Civil War. I'm calling it
well,
now.
potentially that. That's potentially one of the things. But I've thought about, if you paid attention, they were talking about some conflicts between the Dominion and another race of guys. That's kind of what I'm wondering. Is that particular race they mentioned in the episode now going to strike at the Dominion while they're weak? Or what's going to happen there? But yeah. But definitely some good stuff, Sir Artie. Everything was interesting to get perspectives on those sorts of things. But anyways, folks, that's what we've got for a show this evening. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Whatnot for now. Anyways, on our way out, a couple of shout-outs to our good friends over at the Temporal Armada. Very cool bunch of people. Be sure to check out their program. You'll enjoy that quite a bit. Also be sure to check out our other good friends over at the Hur'q Pirate Radio. The party is there. And they actually have some really dang good music for quite a few genres, actually, on there. But if you've got requests for the budget builds, feel free to let us know. We do take requests, as you saw this evening. That one actually came from a request on my channel. But just let us know, hey, this is the ship I'm wanting it for, this is the energy type, that sort of thing. Let us know, your budget. Are you wanting maybe a bare bones, a mid-range, a high-end type of build? Say, oh, I'm wanting to be a space wizard, or a DPS, or a tank, whatever you're looking to do. And we'll see if we can't help you out in that department. If you think that your gear and everything is in order, and maybe it's just your piloting needs to be improved a little bit, get us a brief video clip of your piloting so we can see what you're doing and offer tips on improvement. As well, if you have requests for the Teacher's Corner, feel free to let her know. Maybe it's just understanding a certain part of the game, or whatever it is you're looking for. She may just do a video over your particular request. If you got anything for the RP Corner, let Artie know. He takes requests as well. Maybe it's how to handle a certain event, or a certain type of character, or whatever it is. I might just feature it here on the show. But for now, folks, this is the Pilot Review Show, reminding you to have your tribbles spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.
Catch you around.
Bye!